Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 31st January 2017. The first article is on Universal Basic Income, the hidden agenda of benevolence by G. Sampath. In this article, we are going to look into what the Universal Basic Income is and how is this going to affect the existing welfare programs. Is this going to bring in the redistribution of wealth as stated? These are we are going to analyze here. The first is, recently in Switzerland, a referendum was held on universal basic income. And then Finland has started providing for the workers a fixed basic income on a monthly basis. So whatever the unemployment allowance which was existing before, it was subsumed under the universal basic income. So in this context, what I can say is, a universal basic income is a fixed issued income for every individual which is paid on a monthly basis. So in this context, the Indian government and economic experts are also looking for providing the basic income to the poor people so that this income scheme will subsume all the existing welfare schemes. The major arguments in favor of this is, it involves an efficient delivery of policies and programs, and the administrative expenditure comes down, and added to that, the redistribution of the wealth happens with the same. On the other side, the expenditure is going to increase. The fiscal prudence is being questioned with regard to this program. So here, let us see something. In the West, why this argument has come up? One is unemployment is growing because of automation, and income inequalities are widening among the rich and poor. So this situation needs to be changed. Social unrest which is expected to come up has to be addressed. And another thing which has been stated is, a person's basic needs are being met. A mentally free individual can become entrepreneurial and explore the other alternatives to him. And in a nutshell, it will raise his income levels further. So it is to counter the argument that if free income is given to the people, they become, or there will be no incentive for them to work. So in the Finland, it has been shown that when basic income is being issued, it has led to greater working by the individuals rather than the lesser working. And further to this, what is the hidden agenda? So once the government states that the redistribution of the wealth can happen. If the redistribution has to happen, the money has to shift from the rich to the poor. It means the source of finances for the universal basic income, it shall come from a rich, the taxation of the rich. To what extent the rich are being taxed? Is the government willing to tax them? And the second thing is, by cutting down the existing welfare programs, MG Narega, midday meal, and National Food Security Act, whatever the funds which are being given to them, these will be subsumed into this. These are merely 4 to 5% of the GDP. Now, once the universal basic income comes up, they grow up to 10 to 12% of the GDP. So, in this case, the government is not very well placed to bear this particular burden, and obviously government is bound to reduce these particular social benefits. And at the free trade negotiations, WTO negotiations, it has been repeatedly faulted that the government of India has to reduce its food subsidies. And the pressure on the government of India is too huge at these free trade negotiations. And added to that, the government is also talking about the JAM Trinity, the Jandan Yojana, Aadhaar, mobile number. So, the tech industry is very much supporting the universal basic income. The major reason over here is the Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile. This provides for the necessary customer behavior, necessary data which is a new form of wealth today, and also the banking capital will be raised as everyone's money gets into the banking sector. So, Indian banking sector can be well connected with the international banking system or international financial system, which can deepen the capital system. So, this is what is the hidden agenda which Mr. Sampath aims to explain. Next is, as bigotry becomes policy. It is about the new Trump administration. Already, Trump, as per his electoral promise, he has seen or he has banned immigration from 7 countries. A temporary ban was imposed. All of them are the Muslim majority countries. It is in alignment with his worldview that the global Islamic terror is the greatest terror to the world. So, in this context, this religious profiling of the immigrants, to what extent it is expected, how it is going to damage the society further. American society is popularly stated to be a melting pot of different immigrants, a melting pot of wealth, a melting pot of talent. So, in this context, this particular pluralistic culture of the United States is coming under threat. And the second is, US strategic interests across the world are also expected to get threatened because of these policies of Mr. Trump. And the global divide between West and East is bound to get increased if these policies of the Trump gets continued. And to what extent it is constitutional and legal is also a question. The law in United States of America, it clearly states that there shall not be discrimination of immigrants based on race, religion, etc. So this is a clear discrimination based on religion. And on the strategic interests, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Egypt were exempted from this list. So soon the Pakistan is also expected to be placed in this list. But by and large what we can state is, it is a very ill-planned move. Now, don't speak, don't tell. This is about the banking sector. So, bank run can happen because of two risks. One is credit risk, the other is liquidity risk. The liquidity risk comes up when all the people who have the deposits wants to withdraw the money at a single go. The banking sector functions on a belief that so the people who have deposited the money in the banks may not request for the same money at a single go. So in this context, if more percentage of the people are requesting the money at the same point of time, it leads to liquidity risk. And the credit risk, it is due to growth of the NPAs, non-performance assets. So the stress tests are being initiated by the Raghuram Rajan to see the health of the banks. And added to that, financial stability report is given by RBI based on this stress test. So, the Indian banking sector health is not very healthy in its position. So, it means that if we see the credit risk, if top 10 borrowers gets defaulted, then the 10 to 12 banks in India are going to fail. Coming to the liquidity risk, if more than 10% of the usual withdrawals happens and the bank run can be a possibility in India, at least in major banks. Though the bank names are not being disclosed, so there is an excessive risk with regard to the public sector banks in India, as the NPAs of the public sector banks way high compared to the private sector banks. Can Trump reset the ties with Russia? So here we need to see three things: China, Russia-USA relations, and then what is the worldview of the Trump on the Islamic terrorism. So Trump sees himself as a partner to Russia in fight against Islamic terrorism. And he sees Islamic terrorism as the great global threat as on today. So in this context, if Obama has or Obama was able to break the growing relationship between Germany and Russia, Mr. Trump can be able to break the relationship between China and Russia. So the Trump believes that the challenge to the United States hegemony is China rather than Russia. So in this context, If you observe, as the Germany and Russian axis alliance is growing, so then came the Ukraine crisis, and finally the European Union and US went ahead and imposed the sanctions on Russia. So in this context, if the Trump's policy with Russia has to move forward, there are the three challenges. The first is the Russia is very skeptical about the NATO. So the Russian borders are not, there are no physical limitations on the Russian borders, and it is vulnerable on both the sides. So that's why the Russia is very apprehensive of the NATO. So NATO has to be handled before Russia and US relations have to be reset. Now, the Russia during the Obama's reset and Russia during the Trump's reset is very much different. Now Russia is assertive. It has a role in Afghanistan, role in Iran, and it has got a greater play in Syria. In this context, dealing with resurgent Russia will not be an easy bargain for United States of America. And the third thing is, in United States establishment, winning the home ground to gain bet for better relations with Russia is a major challenge. Most of the Republican establishment is Russophobic. If these three are being able to, if Trump is able to achieve these three, automatically the Russia and the US relations are going to come on a new track. And then coming to the business paper, I like this article, Clues from the Previous Post Demonetization of Union Budget 1978. What this article states is, Mr. Patel, who was the finance minister then, he did two tricks to overcome the existing situation. In those years, the credit growth was sluggish as like now. For this, to encourage the private investments and to make the people to save for more, he did compulsory deposit scheme. A certain percentage of the income has to be compulsorily deposited, and he has encouraged the people to invest in the equities of private sector. It means any small company's equities are bought by the people, they will get the tax concessions to that particular extent. So because of this, the private sector investment and employment have raised. And coming to Gyan Sangam on banking sector, what are the major issues that are bound to be discussed in this bankers meet? The first is non-performance assets is going to be high on agenda, and a national asset management company which can be called as a bad bank. The reason is all the bad loans will be given to for this asset management company, and then its establishment may be discussed, and slowdown in credit growth, non-performance assets added to that, the functioning of bank boards bureau and public sector banks consolidation. These will be the major issues for discussion. And coming to the postman to deliver the banking services. Indian Post Office has its presence throughout the length and breadth of the country. So the post office bank can be the most successful and accessible bank to the people in this country. So what the government or the payments bank which has been established in the Indian Post has been inaugurated by the finance minister. And coming to the news page, economy not in good shape, says Manmohan. So the Congress party has released its position on Indian economy. In this it has explained that the credit growth is sluggish. The employment generation has dropped by 90%. The growth prospects released by IMF and other agencies have reduced the growth projections for India. This all shows that Indian economy is not in a very good shape. That's what the article talks about. So these are the articles for today. And thank you very much. I will be uploading the notes to you by evening because I have to rush to my class, so I am making the video. Thank you very much and all the best. By the way, this is my 500th video today. So till date I have did 500 videos. According to, I feel myself satisfied with this. And thank you very much for all your cooperation. And one thing I want to tell you, because we live in urban chaos, road traffic and these disturbances I am unable to overcome. So try to bear with the small noises or disturbances while doing the lecture. And in my institute, I am making a soundproof room so that this entire experience can be improved to the next level. So the soundproof room is expected to come in the next 2 or 3 days. For the past 1 month, they are doing the work so that I can improvise the things further, and I can also experiment with new kinds of videos. And then we took in Sandeep. So he was working, I think, previously with Byju's. So Mr. Sandeep is known for making good videos on economy. So Sandeep is bringing in NCRT videos. We may keep some price for these NCRT videos. The reason being is we have to pay for him or sustain his payments. So a minimal pay will be made for the NCRT videos, and we also give the questions at the end of the topic. So already he did 4 or 5 NCRTs, and that will simplify your learning of the NCRT and its revision. Thank you very much and all the best.